Dr. Ann, can I tell you about the most confusing impulse buy I've ever made?
Oh, I love these stories. Please tell me.
Okay, so I'm walking through this little artisan market last weekend, not planning to buy anything, and I see this handmade leather journal. Beautiful, but the stall owner is asking for $95. I literally laughed. I said, "For a notebook? No way." I walk on, forget about it. Then, maybe an hour later, I pass a different stall, and they have a very similar leather journal. This one is $45.
And suddenly, $45 felt like a secret bargain you stumbled upon.
Yes, I bought it instantly. I felt so smart. I went home, put it on my desk, and then I realized I still just paid $45 for a notebook. I don't even journal that much. It was like my brain had completely shifted its understanding of what a notebook should cost. And that feeling of getting a deal was so real. But it was based on a number that was completely insane to begin with.
Zach, this is a perfect, textbook-worthy, beautiful example of the anchoring effect. You just experienced one of the most powerful cognitive biases in human decision making. And honestly, once you understand the mechanism behind this, you might actually feel more compassion for yourself. Because this isn't a character flaw, it's a brain feature.
I'm ready to be absolved. What is this brain feature?
Welcome to Mind Decoded. I'm Dr. Ann.
And I'm Zach. Dr. Ann, what are we unpacking today?
Today, we are unpacking the anchoring effect, the strange and powerful way the first number you see controls your judgment. It's a cognitive shortcut our brains use when we have to make a decision with incomplete information. And you, my friend, were anchored. The first price you saw, that outrageous $95, dropped a heavy anchor right into your mental seabed.
So 95 wasn't just a number, it was a reference point that my brain couldn't shake off.
Exactly. Your brain latched onto it and, without your permission, used it to calibrate everything that came next. So when the $45 journal appeared, your brain didn't see a notebook that cost $45. It saw a notebook that is $50 less than the real one. And that is a very, very different perception.
Wow. So my brain did a math problem I didn't ask it to do, and 45 felt like winning. But wait, this can't just be me, right? I mean, this feels like something that would have to be proven in a lab.
It absolutely was. And it's one of the most famous experiments in all of cognitive psychology. It was conducted by Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman in the 1970s. They didn't use fancy artisan journals. They used a wheel of fortune, a literal spinning wheel with numbers on it. They would bring in participants and spin this wheel in front of them, but the wheel was rigged. It would always stop on either the number 10 or the number 65.
Okay. I love the theatricality of this.
So the participant watches the wheel stop on, let's say, 10. Then the researcher asks them a completely unrelated question. What percentage of African nations are in the United Nations? Now think about this for a second, Zach. The person just saw a random number from a wheel of fortune. It has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with geography or the UN. They know the wheel was random.
Right. They would probably say, that was a random number, so I'm going to ignore it. I'm guessing that's not what happened.
Not even close. The people who saw the wheel stop on 10, their average estimate for the African nations question was 25%. The people who saw the wheel stop on 65, their average estimate was 45%. A completely random, meaningless anchor shifted their estimates by 20 whole percentage points.
20 percentage points. That's not a tiny nudge. That's a giant shove. So even when we know the number is random, it still worms its way into our thinking. How is that possible? That's actually a little terrifying.
It's the very definition of an anchor. Think of it like your brain is a vast, dark ocean, and the anchor just drops down and everything else drifts around it. But here's the clinical insight. Our brains don't have an absolute internal scale for value, usefulness, or probability on a first encounter. If I ask you, Is the average price of a new car closer to 15,000 or 60,000? Your brain doesn't access a pre-programmed database of truths. It has to build an answer. And to build it, it desperately, subconsciously looks for a starting point. Any starting point.
So the $95 journal was my starting point. It was my wheel of fortune.
It was your wheel of fortune. And once that anchor is in place, your brain engages in a second process we call insufficient adjustment. You slide away from the anchor thinking you're being rational. You thought, not $95, but something in the ballpark, but your slide is never far enough. You settle on 45 because you're adjusting away from 95 instead of evaluating the journal's actual worth, which might be, I don't know, $20.
This is starting to sound like a horror film where I'm the monster and the victim is my own checking account. I'm sliding around in the dark. But okay, I get it with the Wheel of Fortune. That's a lab. But in real life, aren't the anchors we face put there on purpose? By someone?
Now you're thinking like a cognitive psychologist. You've hit on the deepest, most practical layer of this. The anchoring effect isn't just an accident in a lab. In the real world, it is a tool. It is intentionally used by everyone from real estate agents to salary negotiators to supermarket managers. They are not just presenting you with a number. They are dropping an anchor into your ocean to control where you drift.
Okay, give me the supermarket example. I'm in there every week and I need to know what's being done to my brain while I'm choosing pasta sauce.
Perfect. And so simple. You see a sign. Canned tomatoes, limit 12 per customer. That's not a price. That's an anchor. Wansink, Kent, and Hoke did a study on this in 1998. They set up a display for soup. Half the time, there was no limit. The other half of the time, a sign said, limit of 12 per person. Shoppers who saw the limit, the anchor of 12, bought, on average, 7 cans of soup. Shoppers with no limit bought 3.2.
Wait, so just by putting the number 12 in the air, they doubled how many cans I buy. I'm not a math genius, but I can see that 7 is closer to 12 than 3.2 is. My brain is just sliding towards the big number because it's been told what the normal upper range is.
That's exactly right. You wouldn't have thought to buy 7 cans of soup on a random Tuesday, but your brain unconsciously uses that 12 as a social cue. It suggests this is the amount a normal person might buy, so you adjust downward from the limit, and your adjustment is insufficient. You walk out with 7 cans. The anchor did its job, and look, once you understand the mechanism behind this, you might actually feel a strange sense of clarity walking through those aisles because you can see the anchors now. They are everywhere.
I am never going to look at a special buy the same way. But can we talk about a bigger one? A scarier one? What about salary negotiation? Because I've walked into those rooms trying to be cool, but I feel like I'm handing over a remote control for my own worth.
That's the highest stakes conversation for most people. There is a massive body of research that shows the first number put on the table in a negotiation has a gravitational pull that is almost impossible to escape. This is why, if you're a job candidate, there's a common piece of advice to make the first offer. Throw your anchor first. And the research backs this. A study by Galinsky and Musweiler in 2001 looked at this. Candidates who made a first ambitious offer got a final salary that was statistically higher. Because that first number, even if it's high, becomes the reference point for the entire talk.
So if I say I want $120,000 and they were going to offer 90, their counter might be you want 05. But if they throw out 90 first, my counter might be 100. I just lost $5,000 or $10,000 because of the order of speaking. That physically hurts.
It should feel a little uncomfortable because it highlights how little of this is about our pure rational assessment of value. Now, most people assume this is a personal failing, that if they were smarter, they wouldn't be swayed. The science tells a very different story. Even experts, even judges, even real estate agents are highly susceptible to anchoring. One study gave real estate agents a tour of a house and told them the listing price, which was the anchor. Then they were asked to estimate its appraised value. The real estate agents vehemently denied that the listing price influenced their professional judgment, but the data showed their estimates were swayed by the anchor just like everyone else.
Even when they know about the anchor, they can't shake it. That makes me feel not stupid. It makes me feel like part of a human club.
Yes, that's the beautiful part of this. You are a member of the club of the human brain. It's a feature of our cognition, a mental shortcut. Think of it like your brain is running a background program we could call reference.geishi. Its job is to conserve processing power. Computing an absolute value from scratch takes enormous cognitive energy. Latching onto a nearby piece of information and then adjusting a little bit is cheap and fast. It's your brain being efficient, not stupid.
So it's my brain's battery saver mode, and they're hijacking it to sell me more soup. I feel both amazed and a little hunted. Okay, Dr. Ann, you have to equip me. How do I defend myself? How do I lift the anchor?
I want to offer you not a shield, but a lens. Because trying to simply ignore the anchor is, as the studies show, almost impossible. The processor has already read the file. What you can do is understand the process and actively counteract it. And it starts with a technique called consider the opposite.
Consider the opposite. Okay, break that down for me.
When you're hit with an anchor, say a $95 journal or a $1.2 million house, you don't just try to slide away from it. You actively, aggressively argue against it. You say to your own brain, okay, what are all the reasons this price is completely wrong? You generate counter-arguments. If the price is $1.2 million for the house, you don't just lower it a bit. You ask, is it actually closer to $800,000? Why would it be $1 million less? You're feeding your brain new starting points.
So I'm setting multiple, alternative anchors on purpose. I'm creating a little fleet of small anchors to fight the big one.
That's a wonderful way to put it. A fleet of anchors. The second strategy is to delay your judgment. Anchoring is strongest when we have to make a fast decision. Your impulse buy journal story? That was a fast decision, made while standing in a market, with the $95 anchor still fresh. If you have to make a big financial decision, take a walk. And while you walk, deliberately shift your focus to absolute value. Ask yourself, what does a journal do? What is its intrinsic bare minimum value to my life? Not how much of a deal is this compared to the crazy price.
That's a whole spiritual reframe. I'm literally shaking my brain and saying, look at the object in front of you, not the story of the discount. I'm realizing I buy the story almost every time.
We all do. That's the human in you. And this brings me to the heart of it. The anchoring effect is essentially a story your brain tells itself about what a number means. The first number is the title of the story, and everything else is a supporting paragraph. You're not bad at money. You're not a weak negotiator. You're just a good reader, being told a very compelling story by a master storyteller who knows your brain's narrative structure.
I feel like I just got a user manual for my own decisions that I didn't even know existed. This isn't just about shopping, is it? This is in relationships, in first impressions, in how we judge anything, right?
Absolutely. The first piece of information we get about a person, she went to Harvard, he was late to our first meeting. That's an anchor. And everything we learn about that person later is interpreted through the lens of that initial drop of data. It takes a huge cognitive effort to overcome a bad first impression, because that first impression is the anchor.
So every moment is a negotiation, and my brain is just jumping to conclusions based on the opening bid. This is profound, and honestly, a little destabilizing.
And here's the part that surprised me most when I first read this research. The goal isn't to become a perfectly unanchored, robotically rational human being. The goal is awareness. When you can name the bias, you can see it. And when you can see it, you can choose, in the critical moments, to pause and ask, am I judging the value of this thing? Or am I just comparing it to a number that was planted there? The freedom is in the question, not in voiding your brain of the mechanism.
It's like getting fit for your mind. You can't stop an anchor from appearing, but you can develop the mental muscles to notice it and even choose a different one. So I want every listener to try this today. If you're enjoying unpacking the secret life of your brain with us, go ahead and subscribe to Mind Decoded. We drop a new discovery every single day, and we love having you along for the ride.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you, Zach, and everyone listening, with a concrete thing to carry into your day. Today, I want you to spot one anchor, just one. It could be a was price on a website, a coffee shop's large drink making the medium look reasonable, or even the first thing someone says in a meeting.
And when you see it, you can just say to yourself, there it is. That's the anchor. Just by naming it, you've changed your relationship to it. You're no longer a passive target. You're an active observer of your own mind.
And that's the most powerful shift there is. The goal is not to judge yourself for being a human with a human brain. The goal is to know it so well that you can work with it and maybe even smile at it the next time it tries to convince you that a $45 notebook is a victory.
I'm gonna go look at that journal on my desk with a whole new set of eyes, a whole new fleet of anchors. Thanks for decoding this one for us, Dr. N.
Thanks for being curious, Zach. We'll see everyone tomorrow on Mind Decoded.